Chapter 39 begins with the Apostle, who, after fully transforming Lee's body, was telling Suho that he was waiting for the day when both of them meet face to face. Meanwhile, Suho was still wondering what was going on and how Lee Min-sung's body suddenly changed into that form. He wonders if the one standing in front of him wasn't Lee anymore, but someone else, so he asks if it was the Apostle of Iterum with whom he was talking right now. Hearing that, the entity started to smirk, saying that his suspicions about him were right. Somehow, he knew about his existence. He tells Suho that he was right. He is the Apostle of Iterum, who has come to this world to claim its ownership for his master. Hearing that, Suho started to think that until these guys exist, his father can't return back to Earth and prepares to fight, saying that he is just the person he needed to see. Meanwhile, both of them were unaware that they were being watched by someone from the shadows. Before both of them could do anything, the person uses his ability to pin both of them in place. As both of them wonder what was going on, they heard a voice telling them that, starting now, neither of them was allowed to move without his permission and warns them that if they even think about pulling a stunt, both of them will end up with holes in their bodies. As they turn around, they see Lim Tae-gyu, who had his weapon pointed right at both of them. He was pissed, and in his anger, he asks Lee what was going on here and just what he had been doing this entire time for things to turn out like this. Seeing him there, both of them were surprised, and the Apostle wonders what he should do now as he wasn't strong enough to take on an S-rank hunter like him in his current form. He tells Suho that they can't continue their talk here. With that, he prepares to leave, telling him that they can meet at the highest point in this region where they will continue their conversation. Seeing how he was being ignored, Lim tells him that he already told him he can't leave without his permission. With that, he shoots an arrow at him. Seeing the projectile coming, the Apostle didn't even flinch, and just as it was about to hit him, he moves out of the way, and it goes straight towards Suho, who barely manages to dodge the attack. Seeing that his attack missed, Lim prepares to go all out and summons more projectiles. With that, he starts to attack them relentlessly. His attacks were powerful but not fast enough, and the Apostle effortlessly dodges all of them. Meanwhile, on the ground, Suho was also evading all the attacks with the help of his enhanced senses. He thinks that Lim came at the wrong time to catch Lee Min-sung, and hears Baru asking if he wasn't planning on fighting back. Suho tells him that with the current situation, it doesn't seem like Hunter Lim Tae-gyu was related to the Apostle of Iterum. Besides, he hasn't shown his true skills yet, and he doesn't think he would be able to take him on if he decides to come after him with his full power. Meanwhile, Lim was impressed that both of them were able to evade all his attacks as if it was natural for them. He thinks that right now, taking down Lee Min-sung comes first, so he shouldn't care too much about the other person. With that, he decides to get serious and tells the Apostle that he now realizes that it was his selfish desire to try and capture him unharmed. Sensing the power behind his next attack, the Apostle starts to panic, thinking that this person is much more dangerous than he thought. But before Lim does anything, something unexpected happens as he gets attacked from the side by someone. He instantly turns towards this new enemy to neutralize it, but as he looks at who it was, he sees a goblin standing behind a tree. Seeing him pointing his weapon towards him, the goblin starts to sweat, thinking what he should do now. Seeing the goblin's expressions, Lim realizes that this thing wasn't of any threat to him and wonders where did this magic beast come from. But in the next second, he realizes something and, in his panic, turns towards Suho and the Apostle. But as he does that, he understands what was going on. Both of them used this goblin as a distraction to flee while he was not looking. Realizing that he lost their trail, Lim starts to wonder what the hell was going through Min-sung's mind. The story shifts to another place, and we see a phone ringing. A hand appears to pick it up, and we see it was Chairman Woo Jinchul, who was being informed that Lee Min-sung managed to escape from the dungeon. On the other side was Lim, who was informing him of everything that happened and apologizes to him, saying that it was all his mistake. He tells him that Lee's appearance didn't look normal, presumably from his drug intake. In addition, he came across another hunter while trying to capture Lee Min-sung and tells him that it was a hunter with a black mask. Hearing that, Choi was stunned. He asks if this hunter whom he is speaking of looked like a brawler, to which Lim tells him yes and asks how did he know of that person's appearance. He tells both of them that the hunter he saw during the airport dungeon break was wearing a black mask as well. There, he saw him stopping the magic beasts while rushing in all alone and informed them that he also had black magic beasts with him. Hearing that, Wu starts to wonder if he had black magic beasts, then those could be JinWoo's summons. After some time, he was seen thinking about everything and wonders if JinWoo came back to Earth and thinks that couldn't be the case. Otherwise, they would have quickly ended this situation. So the only other explanation is that this person was JinWoo's son, Suho. The scene shifts to the Apostle and Suho, who were seen standing in a different place. The Apostle comments that he wasn't expecting this and asks why did he help him. Suho tells him it was obvious because if things were to get too dangerous for him, he would have abandoned Lee Min-sung's body and disappeared. Hearing his answer, the Apostle starts to smirk and tells Suho that he has heard from the demons that the darkness is the being known as the Shadow Monarch in this world and asks what is his relationship to the Shadow Monarch. Hearing that, Suho tells him he didn't think that he would be curious about him, but he isn't planning on telling him anything. He says that he is going to crush him and obtain the information that way. As he says that, Baru appears and tells him to be careful. He warns Suho that he cannot fathom the magnitude of Lee Min-sung's power now that the Apostle of the Iterim has taken over his body. To which Suho tells him not to worry, as he came prepared for a situation like this. With that, he starts to summon his shadow soldiers, and the ground gets covered with Suho's shadow. Seeing the darkness growing, the Apostle starts to smile, thinking that he is certain now. It's exactly like the authority of the darkness he witnessed on the battlefield. Behind Suho were his most powerful summons so far. He had the king of the swamp named Kasaka, ranked common, poison-toothed giant desert centipede, ranked common, the high troll, ranked common, and last but not least, the tomb warden named Saika, ranked elite. Summoning all of them, he tells Baru that these are all the creatures he's saved up for this day and tells the Apostle to fight him with everything he's got. As both of them face off, an urgent quest appears in front of Suho, telling him to eliminate Lee Min-sung, who is possessed by the Apostle of the Iterim, and obtain his memories. Seeing the quest, Suho started to think that he doesn't have any other choice. The system was forcing him to take out a human. So now, he must eliminate Lee Min-sung. Meanwhile, the Apostle found himself lost in thought. Something about this situation felt strange. He wondered if it was because he was starting to understand his own emotions. The memories left behind in the fragment of his true self might hold the answer. Back then, when he first encountered the darkness, he had felt something. A deep curiosity about the strong and mighty being from another dimension, one who had defeated an entire army alone. And at the center of it all stood that darkness, distant yet powerful. Now, he finally understood. He had always wanted to know more about the one who stood alone, beyond anyone's reach. As he was in his thoughts, he saw Kasaka coming straight toward him with incredible speed. Seeing it coming, the Apostle prepared to fight, and as Kasaka was about to bite him down, the Apostle sliced it in two with one swift attack. As he was distracted by that, he noticed something behind him and saw two eyes coming toward him. Seeing this, he understood what Suho was planning. He turned toward him and saw Suho, who was right in his face and about to deliver a powerful attack. But before he could do that, the Apostle blocked his punch using his sword. He managed to save himself with that, but got pushed back because of the force behind the attack. Seeing this, he started to think. Suho was using his soldiers as a distraction and confronting him head-on. He wondered if Suho was confident in close-quarters combat. Realizing this, he swung his sword towards Suho, who barely managed to dodge the attack. But the energy released by the weapon took out the giant centipede behind Suho. As he thought he managed to push him back, he noticed a presence behind him and turned to see Essel, who, seeing an opening, was planning on taking him out with a powerful attack. But as she swung her spear toward the Apostle, he effortlessly moved out of the way and grabbed onto her weapon. Seeing her appearance, he realized that she wasn't a soldier of darkness. Seeing that she was trapped and the enemy was getting ready to finish her off, Essel started to panic. But just in time, Suho appeared and landed a swift, well-aimed kick to the Apostle's face. However, the attack hardly had any effect on him. He turned towards Suho and asked why he wasn't utilizing his dark soldiers in their fight. As soon as he said that, two hands appeared from behind, and he started to get covered in sand. Looking back, he saw a shadow soldier responsible for this. It was Saika, the warden of the tomb. He turned back towards Suho and saw him charging up a powerful attack to finish the fight. Wasting no time, Suho leaped toward him to end the battle. Seeing no other way, the apostle prepared to use his full power to free himself from the sand trap before things got out of hand. And before Suho could finish the fight, a massive explosion engulfed the area, instantly destroying Saika. Suho got pushed back because of the force of the blast. As soon as Suho recovered, he looked up, wondering what had just happened. How did the sand binding him explode? He saw the apostle looking right at him through the dust. With lightning-fast speed, he moved through all of them, asking if it was his selfish desire to feel the same thrill again. With that single attack, he managed to injure the whole team. Suho saw his gauntlets beginning to crack after absorbing that attack. The apostle appeared behind them, telling Suho that he was disappointed. He said that the soldiers of darkness he fought in the past were trained warriors, each with an individual will, and fighting them felt like facing a disciplined army. But Suho's power was only similar in appearance. It was safe to say they were completely different abilities. Suho turned to look at everyone and saw that Essel was the only one left standing, but she was in no shape to fight. He heard the apostle saying that despite Suho's incredible authority, he was completely unable to apply it in combat. Hearing that, Suho started to think. Facing him had gotten a lot harder after the apostle of Iterim possessed Lee Min-sung. He realized that his power was around S rank. As he was lost in thought, he saw the apostle coming toward him to finish him off and heard him saying that the reason the darkness seemed lonely was that this world lacked a being who could establish a relationship of equals with him. With that, he started delivering a barrage of attacks on Suho and told him that no one could understand such an overwhelmingly superior being. All of a sudden, Suho's gauntlet shattered into pieces as a notification informed him that Vulcan's horns had been destroyed. Before he could grasp the situation, the apostle pierced through his stomach with his weapon, shocking Essel, who helplessly watched everything from a distance. The apostle told Suho that compared to the powers he had, his existence itself was unrefined. Therefore, he would take the authority of the darkness from him by any means necessary, even if it meant converting him into a believer. By doing so, maybe he could understand the emotions the darkness felt. Suho tried to pull out the weapon from his body while thinking about what he said, that his existence was unrefined. He remembered that Lee Min-sung had also said something similar to him, and told him that if he weren't given powers by sheer luck, he would have ended up as an extra as well. He thought about what Lee said about the time when he would have to make a decision swayed by the situation. The story shifts back to the past when Suho and Baru were conversing about his abilities. Baru tells Suho that he needs something else besides stats and skills to become stronger and asks why he wasn't using his shadow soldiers as weapons in battle, to which Suho tells him it was because Vulcan's horn has higher attack. He explains that he is currently using bond skills and ruler's authority and also commanding the shadow soldiers, so if he included the shadow form change as well, he's not confident he'll be able to fight properly. But Baru insists, saying that he guarantees that it was possible for a genius like him. But Suho still disagrees with him, saying there was no need to use that, and reminds him what he told him in the past, that his father never used the form change in combat either, so he must have had a reason not to. So it wouldn't be different if he didn't use it either. Remembering that, Suho started to wonder when it was that he started to set his limits so easily. He thinks that his habit from before he awakened as a hunter, of compromising after failing, was still here. He remembers that he used to love drawing, but he hasn't drawn a single thing after he awakened, and remembers Lee Min-sung's words, that he probably doesn't even know what he wants for himself. He thinks that he was right. All he has been doing so far was following the system's orders until now just so he could meet his father and find his mother someday after becoming stronger, and didn't come up with a single reason to become stronger himself. He wonders why he was trying to chase after the footsteps of his father all this time, as the person his father needs isn't his replacement, so he needs to find something only he can do. With that, the story shifts back to the present, and we see Suho gathering up all his remaining strength to face the enemy in front of him. The apostle hears him saying the words, "Arise." Hearing those words, he starts to remember that the dark soldiers he faced in the past were immortal beings that kept reviving. He turns back to see all the shadows getting back up and coming towards him. Seeing this, he tells Suho that no matter how hard his soldiers try, they are of no threat to him. But he notices something strange about Suho's soldiers. He sees that all of them were merging with each other and thinks that he has never seen anything like that before, even in the battle against the darkness. As the soldiers merged together, he wonders if what he was looking at was a chimera. FYI, a chimera is a mythological creature that originates from Greek mythology. The rest you guys can look up yourselves. Now, back to the story. As the soldiers were doing that, Gray runs out of mana and separates from Suho. As the darkness starts to engulf Suho's body, his memories shift to his childhood when he was enjoying his time with his family. He remembers telling both of them that when he grows up, he will become just like both of them, a cop like his father or an athlete like his mother. Hearing that, his mother starts to smile and tells Suho that both of them decided something when he was born, that they won't have a say in his dreams so he can become whatever he wants. To which Suho told her that he wants to be just like both of them when he grows up, and he hears his mother say that if that's what he wants, he can do it, and tells him to remember to make sure to ask himself if that's what he really wanted. Thinking about that time, Suho starts to wonder why he suddenly remembered the words his mother told him back then and thinks that at a certain point, he found himself only chasing after his father instead of asking himself questions. With that, the story shifts to his time in college, where his instructor asks if he was drawing ants again. He tells Suho that his skills won't improve if he keeps drawing the same thing, but as he looks closer, he notices something and tells Suho that his drawings are certainly special. Typically, when a person draws the same thing over and over again, they tend to get stuck in a pattern, but it feels like he's becoming much freer the more he draws. He points at one of the pictures, asking if he can even call that an ant at this point. The story shifts back to the present, and we see Suho thinking that the reason he obtained the shadow form change faster than his father was because the system matched it to his traits. He decides to fully embrace the combat style that uses the shadow form change. This way, he won't be limited to a single form and can instead use a more flexible and dynamic shadow. With that, the apostle sees shadows surrounding both of them, and he wonders what was going on. Meanwhile, Beru is panicking as all the nearby shadow soldiers are being pulled towards Suho, and it is getting difficult to maintain his form. So he rushes towards Essel, who is asking him what was happening to their young monarch. Beru tells her that he himself doesn't know what is going on right now, but it seems the young monarch is breaking out of his shell. Seeing everything, the apostle wonders if there was latent potential within him. He decides to quickly finish this fight and administer the star fragment into him before things become troublesome. But before he could do anything, he gets pushed back because of Suho's shadows that are spreading everywhere. He senses Suho getting stronger and wonders what is going on, as according to his information, the abilities of a hunter do not grow. He wonders if what he is witnessing is a reawakening. He sees the wound on Suho's body healing at a rapid pace as his body starts to get covered up by an armor made out of darkness. After fully recovering, Suho starts to wonder if the shadow form change ability is simply a weaponization of shadows. If so, considering the traits of shadows that allow them to transform, he should be able to apply it in various methods. With that, the apostle sees Kasaka coming towards him from below, but just as it is about to bite him down, it gets sliced into two. But little did he know, it was just a distraction. Seeing an opening, the high troll appears from the back, and before the apostle could do anything, he slams his massive club right on his head. But as he looks down, he sees that the apostle managed to block the attack at the last second. With that, he tells Suho that he already told him his soldiers are no threat to him. With lightning-fast speed, he slashes through the high troll. As he does that, he senses a new energy and turns to see where that mana is coming from. He sees Suho walking towards him with one arm emitting an immense amount of mana and hears him say that if this doesn't work either, then it's pretty much over for him. It was his bond skill with Essel called Demon Strike. As soon as the skill is fully charged up, he leaps towards the apostle with incredible speed. Seeing him coming, the apostle tries to get out of the way while thinking that mana certainly looks dangerous. With that, he starts to deliver a barrage of attacks on Suho, saying that he would never be hit by an attack so obvious, and manages to push Suho back. Seeing how easily he managed to stop him in his tracks, he tells Suho that he should still be able to use his authority while missing a leg. Hearing that, Suho turns to look at him and gets amazed as he sees Saika looking badass and thinks he never thought that something like this was possible with the shadow form change. The apostle freezes in terror as he realizes that Suho was just a distraction. The real source of that strange mana was his shadow soldier. Without giving him any time to react, Saika delivers a bone-crushing blow to his face, sending him flying into the distance. The apostle goes flying into the air and crashes into a small cliff in the distance, which gets obliterated as he crashes into it. As the dust settles, Suho sees the possessed body of Lee Min-sung sitting on the ground, completely motionless. The scene shifts to the true body of the apostle, who was wondering what just happened, as he had never, in all his battles against the darkness, witnessed something like this. He wonders how Suho managed to transfer his skill to a soldier. He checks Lee Min-sung's body and notices that he won't be able to tell him anything with that broken jaw. He tries to get back up, thinking that his body is still able to move, so he should be able to fight a bit longer if he replenishes his mana by sacrificing his life force. But as he tries to do that, he notices something strange and wonders if Suho was responsible for it. He thinks that because of the earlier impact, Lee Min-sung was waking up from his domination and hears Lee's thoughts as he asks him, how does the high and mighty S rank feel being bested by someone lower in rank than him? The apostle tells him to shut up, to which Lee asks, what's the worst he's gonna do to him? End his life? He asks the apostle if he thinks that he was afraid to die. He tells the apostle that he wasn't afraid of that, as what he hates is being looked down upon and hates his existence being unacknowledged the most. He slams his claws into his chest and tells the apostle that if he can give those people who underestimated him a taste of their own medicine, he will. He sees Suho slowly approaching him. Seeing this, he tells him to come, as if he can't be the protagonist, then he'll faithfully act out the role assigned to him. With that, he breaks the armor covering his chest and tells the apostle that this was his final role as the villain. Seeing how he exposed his chest like that, Suho prepares to finish his misery. In his final moments, Lee sees Suho's fist coming straight toward him to finish the fight. As it collides with Lee's body, it creates shockwaves around them, marking the end of their epic battle. And that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe so I can continue making these videos for you. Until next time, take care